Chapter 5. My feet are nice. His voice seemed artificially deep, as if he were trying to sound manly. He held out his hand. I wiped the dirt off mine and shook his. I know you already. Sophie. He stood back up. I looked at him more closely. I recognized the sunglasses, the way he stood, his legs firm but his body swaying slightly, confident as a tall tree. He held under his arm a small wooden box about the size of a Kleenex box. It was made of dark, rich wood, carved and polished to a bright sheen. Now I could place him. He'd been in my woodworking class 2 years earlier. I was the only girl in the class, which I rebelliously took as an elective instead of computer skills. Most of the guys in the class skipped it regularly. Angel came to class about once a week. The main thing I remembered about him was this. At the end of the semester, we all displayed our pieces around the dusty work tables. Mine was a crooked little end table. One guy made a gun case, another a toolbox, another a stool. But Angel had made a giant mahogany armoire, taller than himself, carved intricately with flowers and birds, the curves smooth, the wood brilliant. I'd assumed he'd bought it or stolen it or gotten it from his house and lied about making it himself. But Mr. Mutton, the teacher, had reached an understanding with him. It turned out he had let Angel build it in his neighbor's wood shop where he worked after school. When he asked Angel to tell us how he made it, Angel went through the process step by step, running his hands over the wood as though he knew it well, like a pet's fur or a girlfriend's hair. You're the one who made that gigantic armoire, right? I asked. Yeah. I'm surprised you recognized me. You kidding? What did that mean? Out of the class, he was one of the guys who hung around huge pickup trucks, red or black and shiny, with ranchera music blaring. He was definitely not an amoeba. He was part of an organ, and the other cells of the organ? Girls in halter tops and tight pants and thick eyeliner perched on the hood. Intimidatingly sexy girls. Whenever I'd pass them, I'd pull my hat down over my eyes. It hadn't occurred to me that he might have noticed me. You must be Pablo, he said, turning to Pablo. Hey, my man, what's up? They bumped fists. He switched to Spanish. You guys always sleep with the chickens? I felt my face warm. Pablo nodded, serious. Not always, I said. After Angel left to help load the van, I noticed that the plastic pearl buttons on my nightgown were low enough that you could see a shadow of cleavage. I wondered if he'd been looking there. Who knew? All I'd seen from his sunglasses was the reflection of my face. While everyone finished loading the van, I took a quick shower, scrubbing the dust off my legs and feet. After I stepped out, I stood there, dripping in front of the full-length mirror. Repeating a mantra I had read in the magazine article, I whispered to my reflection, my feet are nice, my ears are nice, my elbows are nice. Actually, I was supposed to say beautiful, not nice, but I didn't want to push my luck. My arms are nice, my knees are nice, my ankles are nice. Outside, they were all waiting for me in the red Volkswagen bus. Dika in the passenger seat, Mr. Lorenzo at the wheel, Pablo and Angel in back. I stuffed my duffel bag of clothes toward the way back and kept with me in the back seat a pillowcase full of books, chocolate-stained, jam-spotted books that I'd read and reread. Pablo's favorite poetry, a few novels, and my dog-eared Little Prince. A whole week in the van to get there, a week in Pablo's village, and a week to get back. I knew I'd be too embarrassed to talk much to Angel. I'd just try to get absorbed in my books. We are ready, Dika declared. In her hand, she cupped the shard of red glass about the size of her palm. Her version of a security blanket. She always said it was for her headaches, that when she held it up to the sun, the red light eased the pounding. better than the aspirin, she insisted. Saying goodbye to Mom and Juan was harder than I'd thought. A lump came to my throat when I hugged them. Mom whispered, "You're in charge, Sophie. And Juan, if you have any problems, call us." What kinds of problems? Corrupt cops who demanded giant bribes? Armed drug traffickers roaming around the borders? Poisonous snakes and scorpions? Amoebas and diarrhea from unsanitary food preparation? Okay, Sophie, deep breath. I'd gone over this a million times in my head. The cops and drug runners we'd just avoid. Go the speed limit, not give them a reason to pull us over. I wouldn't walk anywhere where snakes and scorpions could be lurking, and I'd shake out my shoes and clothes before putting them on. And the food. I'd squeeze lime juice, a natural disinfectant, over everything. For days and nights, I'd been coming up with possible things that could go wrong and making backup plans. Everything will be fine, I told Mom and Juan. You sure you want to do this, Sophie? Mom asked. I looked at the 4 people in the van. Dika and Mr. Lorenzo were examining the map, their heads close. Angel was making faces at Pablo, bug faces with his sunglasses. Pablo looked different, and it took me a moment to figure out how. He had a smile that showed his teeth, a smile that made his eyes scrunch up. He was making a little high-pitched chipmunk sound. Pablo was laughing. "Cool box," Pablo said to Angel as we exited onto the highway. "Thanks." Angel held the box on his lap like a baby. He brushed his fingertips over the carvings of leaves and trees that covered it. I noticed an old-fashioned silver keyhole. I wondered if it belonged to the skeleton key that was nearly hidden in gold chains and saints and virgins at his neck. "You make it?" I asked. He nodded and didn't offer any more information. Maybe it was drugs. What if it was drugs and we got caught and sent to a Mexican prison? I didn't know anything about this guy and his father. They could be drug dealers. I did some deep breathing and tried to act casual. "So, what are you guys doing in Guatemala?" "Digging up my mother's jewels." Angel said this as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Somehow, I'd assumed that the buried jewels thing had been a misunderstanding on Dika's part. Maybe they weren't drug dealers. Maybe they were just crazy. Of course, Dika attracted crazy people. My stomach tightened, and again that familiar feeling came, the beginnings of panic. Next, my heart would race and my breath quicken and my throat dry up. "Relax, Sophie. We've only been gone 5 minutes. We can turn back." Digging up her jewels?" I asked. "My mom buried them. We're digging them up." He enunciated his words as though that were my problem. He leaned over between the front seats and stuck a tape into the stereo. Salsa music blared loud and sudden. He sat back down and looked out the window, and I couldn't tell if he was awake or asleep because of those sunglasses hiding his eyes. A little while later, while Dika and I sat in the van and Mr. Lorenzo and Angel and Pablo peed by the roadside, I asked her, "What's the deal with the buried jewels?" "Mr. Lorenzo's wife buries them long time ago." "I know, but why?" "In war, when soldiers come, they take everything. You must to bury anything to save it. You must to hide your children also." "Where's Angel's mother? Is she dead?" Dika shrugged. "They say us when they want to say us, no?"